Hey, today I'm very excited because today I will review book The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It's an amazing book. I didn't expect it will be that good. And I took quite a lot of, probably like 2 pages, full pages of notes, and there was much more than that. And like always, I will read what I took, and after that I will share some of my perspectives, of my ideas on what I learned. And there's a lot of notes, so let's get started. A genius who loses control of their emotions can be a financial disaster. A genius who loses control of their emotions can be a financial disaster. Such a powerful saying. I mean, it doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are, if you're not able to manage your emotions, you will never succeed. That's so powerful. Financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. Again, just emphasize that it's more important how you behave than what you know. I call this soft skill a psychology of money. It's that knowing what to do. It's that knowing what to do tells nothing about what happens in your head when you try to do it. Because when you try to do it, you plan so much, you try to do it, and because your emotions, you're afraid, and you're not able to handle it, and you're not able to do what you know is right to do. I believe is that we think about and our thought about money is in ways that are too much like physics with rules and laws, and not enough like psychology with emotions and nuance. Such a powerful. That means that when you think about money, we focus on, at the moment, we focus on rules and laws, but it's supposed to focus on psychology and emotions and those nuances that coming with understanding. Because our decision making is most time coming from emotions, not from knowing. To grasp why people burn themselves in debt, you don't need to study interest rates. You need to study the history of greed, insecurity, and optimism. Very powerful. The person who grew up in poverty thinks about risk and reward in ways that child of a wealthy banker cannot fathom if he tried. That means if you never experienced, try to visualize how other person is thinking about money, have experienced totally different way of living. It's very hard to understand. That's why putting yourself in another person's shoes when you always had wealth, and now you need to think about how you're supposed to act when you don't have any money on the table, or any bread on the table. I think that both are not able to understand each other's perspective. Totally believe that. Every decision people make with money justified by taking the information they have at the moment and plugging it into their unique mental model of how the world works. Such a powerful. That means we take information from the world and we put that into our mind and our model of the world, how the world works, and that's why how we make decisions. So sometimes why when you don't understand why a person made a decision a certain way, because they just had different mind model. Such a powerful thing, mental model. Realize that not all success is due to hard work and not all poverty due to laziness. There's a lot of things included into success. There is hard work is great, that puts you in a better position to succeed, but hard work is not enough. Sometimes the misluck or disappointment or external things could lead to really failure. At the same time, laziness with being in the right spot at the right time potentially could make some kind of successful for a short period of time. The more extreme the outcome, the less likely you can apply its lessons to your own life. This is when you look at your extraordinary successful people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and all those who are extraordinarily successful. It's very hard to implement their advices because you have miles, 1,000 miles away where they are. So that means we need to find people who are a little bit closer sometimes to really, you're able to learn from them. But not all advice will be reasonable for your life. You will get closer to actionable takeaways by looking for broad patterns of success and failure. The more common the pattern, the more applicable it might be to your life. That means that when you look into patterns that like majority of people succeeded, what are those key takeaways? What are the patterns of success? What are the clues? Because success leaves clues. So being able to really look for those patterns, look for those clues is very important. There's no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. This is a very interesting one. There's no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. A lot of times people put all their money onto things to achieve and they lose everything because they risk too much. They risk what they need it for the things that they might not need it. The most powerful and important books should be called Shut Up and Wait. Shut up and wait. That means that sometimes you don't need to rush into things. When you really take action, sometimes you just need to really give your patience wait. Because I love the saying that you need to be aggressive with your actions and patient with your results. But good investing isn't necessarily about earning the highest returns, because the highest returns tend to be one-off hits that can't be repeated. It's about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with and which can be repeated for the longest period of time. So it means that very high returns sometimes is not duplicatable. You're not able to succeed with that model. While looking to like decent returns that you're able to duplicate, that means that you will be probably the most successful because you're able to compound on that. Your success as an investor will be determined by how you respond to punctuated moments of terror, not the years spent on cruise control. That means that it could be that you going with a boat and on a cruise control. That means that everything will be good. But when there is a storm, how you take action during storm, what kind of action do you take during storm, that will dictate really your success. The good definition of an investing genius is the man or woman who can do the average thing when all those around them are going crazy. So being able to do what's right in a way that what's right and what was always right, not just get confused, is very, very important. Sometimes it's very simple things to do, but when everyone is emotional, it's very hard to do. It's not whether you are right or wrong that's important, but how much money you make when you are right and how much money you lose when you are wrong. You can be wrong half the time and still make a fortune. Probably people who invest, especially in forex, understand that you will never have 100% success rate. You might be successful 30% of the time sometimes. It still be equal or maybe even make more money, because every single time when you make money, you make more money. But when you are a risk manager, very well in managing your risks, you're able to lose money, but just a little bit. So when you make money, you make a lot. When you lose money, you lose a little bit. So understanding that risk management is very important really brings a fortune. The highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That's powerful. The ability to do what you want, when you want it, with who you want, for as long as you want, is priceless. It is the highest dividend money pays. This is the options that money provides. This is the key. This is abundance. This is a freedom that gives. That it doesn't matter how much money you make. We need to ask, okay, who I'm working with? Do I like them? What do I want? Because this is, again, what do you want? When you want it? With who you want it? And for as long as you want. This is the priceless. Having a strong sense of controlling one's life is a more dependable predictor of a positive feelings of well-being than any of the objective conditions of life we have considered. Angus Campbell, psychologist. So it means sense of control on life is one of the biggest parts to really make sure that you feel emotional well and successful. The median American home increased from 983 square feet in 1950 to 2,436 square feet in 2018. The average new American home now has more bathrooms than occupants. Such an interesting thing that people want more, but what is the reason of more? That people were happy having 1,000 square buildings. Now they need 2,500, even though there is people the same amount. And in 70 years, Because I think that sometimes it's just looking, the neighbors have such a massive house. You don't want to have 1,000 square feet house, how it will look like compared to the neighbor who has 2,500. And I think that that's just again, being able to understand what do you actually need, because being able to really have a house in based on your needs, not on comparison with neighbors, that's I think that's true success. If respect and admiration are your goal, be careful how you seek it. That's exactly. If you want admiration, seek different ways. Humility and kindness and empathy will bring you more respect than horsepower ever will. We tend to judge wealth by what we see because that's the information we have in front of us. It's very easy to see sometimes, okay, this person has a beautiful car, probably is wealthy. But we don't see the bank account. We don't see all information behind it. And sometimes we judge because of that. Wealth is financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff you see. Wealth is ability to use money to buy anything what you want. And being able to really put that wealth that into investments that generates massive income. A lot of times all the investments that people have in stocks, bonds, real estate and everything between, so many people don't see how much investments are in the market. And I think that's why very hard to see wealthy people, because they don't buy rich people materials. They buy it, but they're not as much as rich people. Rich is a current income, but wealth is hidden. It's income not spent. Wealth is an option not yet taken to buy something later. Beautiful. Exercise is like being rich. You think, I did the work and I now deserve to treat myself to a big meal. Wealth is turning down that treat meal and actually burning net calories. So wealthy people have better delayed gratification. The problem for many of us is that it is easy to find rich role models. It's harder to find wealthy ones because by definition, their success is more hidden. So it's very hard to find wealthy people because they just never show up as rich or wealthy, because everything in their assets is in the market rather than in their pockets. The world grew is energy wealth, not by increasing the energy it had, but by decreasing the energy if it needed. And he shared the story that people used to believe it will not be able to really have energy needed to live a life. But what happened over the years is that we start decreasing the energy that we need because all the tools became much more efficient. Everything became much more efficient, so we needed less energy. So I mean that's exactly with money. Sometimes we're thinking that we'll not have enough money, but if you reduce the money and become much more efficient with your money, that means you can become more wealthy because you're able to save more energy or more money. Wealth is just the accumulated leftovers after you spend what you take in. And since you can build wealth without a high income, but have no chance of building wealth without a high saving rate, it's clear which one more important, which one matters more. That means that your income doesn't matter for success. It is influence, but what really matters is how much you save out of the income. So the rate of savings, that is the most important thing to really achieve wealth. One of the most powerful ways to increase your savings isn't to raise your income, it's to raise your humility. Such a powerful statement. To raise your humility. Because a lot of things we buy not because we want it, but because we think that we will look better in front of others. You will desire less if you care less about what others think of you. Powerful. Experiencing specific events does not necessarily qualify you to know what will happen next. In fact, it really does, because experience leads to overconfidence more than forecasting ability. And he shares a lot of times people look into their past to really predict future, but a lot of times that past really will not predict the future. I need to be very careful because sometimes could become overconfident and lose money because of that. The correct lesson to learn from surprises is that the world is surprising. But since economies evolve, recent history is often not the best guide to the future because it's more likely to include important conditions that are relevant to the future. Historians are not prophets. It's equally important to save for things you can't possibly predict or even comprehend. This is very important. It's equally important to save for things you can't possibly predict or even comprehend. I always used to believe that you need a very, very specific goal to save for. That's important. I think that is really helpful. But as you said, it sometimes is really have a goal to save for something in the future because, as it says in stats, that 99% people always have at least a couple times in a lifetime something that unexpected that you need to spend a lot of money. So we need to prepare for those unexpected moments because otherwise that could lead to bankruptcies and all other bad things. Oh, this one is very important. Sunk costs. Anchoring decisions to the past efforts that can be refunded are the devil in the world where people change over time. They make our future selves prisoners to our past, different selves. It's the equivalent of a stranger making major life decisions for you. That means your past you, he says that your past you is a stranger and he made a decision. Sometimes the best thing to ask is, knowing what I know right now, would I make the same decision? And if it's no, that means you need to quit whatever you're doing because that is a sunk cost. Bubbles form when the momentum of short-term returns attracts enough money that the makeup of the investors shifts from mostly long-term to mostly short-term. Again, this is very powerful. So when we look into investing and when we look into where the money is coming from, it's coming from long-term investors or from short-term investors. And if there's a short-term investors and there's a massive volume going on, that means we need to sometimes even run away because that means that the price might be overpriced. Rising prices persuade all investors in ways that the best marketers envy. They are drug that can turn even value-conscious investors into divide-eyed optimists, detached from their own reality by the actions of someone playing a different game than they are. Such a powerful thing that short-term investors playing different game. And sometimes long-term value-based investors, they're looking to invest in long-term game. You're not supposed to make decisions based on short-term investors. And this is very powerful. The takeaway there is that few things matter more with money than understanding your own time horizon and not being persuaded by the actions and behaviors of people playing different games than you are. The main thing I can recommend is going out of your way to identify what game you are playing. What game am I playing? How long the game is? What you want from that game? Very powerful. For reasons I have never understood, people like to have that the world is going to hell. Historian Dater McCluskey. Pessimism isn't just more common than optimism. It also sounds smarter. It's intellectually captivating and is paid more attention than optimism, which is often viewed as being oblivious to risk. Real optimism doesn't believe that everything will be great. That's complacency. Optimism is belief that the odds of a good outcome are in your favor over time, even when there will be setbacks along the way. I really love that definition of real optimism. It says that you know that at the end, everything will be okay. There will be a lot of setbacks, adversity, disappointments, but you will go through and there will be in your favor. At the end, they'll be okay, even though that those setbacks that you're going through right now are okay. So that means that you are not pessimist. You don't say that everything is doomed. No, you say that now is terrible. I accept it, but in the future, when I take action, everything will be okay. I'm not an optimist. I'm a very serious possibilist. Hans Rosling. I loved it. That means there are possibilities, and I will seek those possibilities. When I think about, is this possible? Of course it's possible. So it's possible. So I will take action to potentially achieve that possibility, because if you don't pursue possibility, it will never happen. I really love that. I really love that. Pessimism just sounds smarter and more plausible than optimism. Tell someone that everything will be great, and they are likely to either shrug you off or offer a skeptical eye. Tell someone they are in danger, and you have their undivided attention. I have seen that so many times. Assuming that something ugly will stay ugly is an easy forecast to make. And it's persuasive because it doesn't require imagining the world changing. But problems correct and people adapt. So that means the problems there were problems, things change, and we're able to change the future for the better. Progress happens too slowly to notice, but setbacks happen too quickly to ignore. There are a lot of overnight tragedies. There are rarely overnight miracles. Such a powerful thing. That's why I think that negativity attracts much more, because it's very, very immediate. Growth is driven by compounding, which always takes time. Destruction is driven by single points of failure, which can happen in seconds, and drives by single points of failure, which can happen in again. Growth driven by compounding, which always takes time. Destruction are driven by single points of failure, which can happen in seconds, and loss of confidence, which can happen in an instant. It's easier to create a narrative around pessimism because the story pieces tend to be fresher and more recent. So negativity and pessimism about the stories and that negativity, as it covers, is very, very short based. While successful things is long term, compounded, and it's sometimes hard to grasp that 10 years, 20 years, how the success happened, while some destruction happened within 1 year is much, much easier to visualize that. We all want to complicate. We want the complicated world we live in to make sense. So we tell ourselves stories to fill in the gaps of what are effectively blind spots. So that means a lot of times we tell ourselves stories that are theoretically not true to fill the gaps of because we want to have in control. We want to make sure that the life makes sense. And those things, those bad stories that we tell ourselves, become a blind spot and things that sabotage us and slowing us down because we keep repeating those stories. Part of this reason of forecasting the stock market and the economy is so hard is because you are the only person in the world who thinks the world operates the way you do. Every single person has different view of the world because every single person has those three. So 100%, we have 100% information, but you choose only 3% to look at. And your upbringings, everything is included. And that's why every single person looks and sees things differently. Carl Litchens writes, risk is what's left over when you think you have thought of everything. Psychologist Philip Tetlock once wrote, we need to believe we'll live in a predictable, controllable world. So we turn to alternative sounding people who promise to satisfy that need. So we need to be very careful when we do not know what's going on to really listen to alternative people who potentially don't have the best for us, the best intention for us. The illusion of control is more persuasive than the reality of uncertainty. So we cling stories about outcomes being in our control. We focus on what we know and neglect what we do not know, which makes us overly confident in our beliefs. That's why when people say, when people know little, they are very confident. And the more people know, the less they understand that they do not know. So the people who know more understand that they do not know. People who don't know much, they think that they know much. And again, this is very important. I can't tell you what to do with your money because I don't know you. I don't know what you want. I don't know when you want it. I don't know why you want it. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. It's very important because it's very easy to tell advice what person's supposed to do about with money, but we're not able to do that until we actually understand other person's desires, wants. What kind of money? When to want it? Like, what's the goal? Like, everything that we need to understand, because the horizon, time horizon, everything needs to be included in strategizing the success of your freedom. Less ego, more wealth. Saving money is the gap between your ego and your income. And wealth is what you don't see. Saving money is the gap between your ego and your income. Such a powerful thing. Saving money is the gap between your ego and your income. Because, of course, our ego sometimes makes us buy things that we're not supposed to buy. No matter what you are doing with your money, you should be comfortable with a lot of stuff not working. That's not just how the world is. That's how the world is. So you should always measure how you have done by looking at your full portfolio rather than individual investments. Such a powerful statement. That means when you think about success in anything in life, sometimes we can look into one area of life, maybe you're not successful. But look into all picture of you. How well you're doing in everything in life. Maybe you will see that the whole picture looks amazing. Maybe one area, maybe it's at this moment is not that good. But when you look at your whole picture, you see that, oh, I'm pretty successful. Because when you look into one area, exactly with investments, when you look at one area only, you say, okay, I'm pretty successful. Or maybe you fail in that one investment. You say, I'm a terrible investor. And that's just very, very important to really look overall picture rather than one investment. Saving for things that are impossible to predict or define is one of the best reasons to save. I already mentioned that. That's in summary. Define the cost of success and be ready to pay it, because nothing worthwhile is free. I love this one, because define the cost of success and be ready to pay it. Now, the only thing that I would mention is that when you think about the most expensive projects, real estate projects, business projects, a lot of businesses, a lot of projects go over budget. So that means they need to spend more than expected. And that might be that exactly thing will happen in your life. So when you really think about it, this is what I think I believe to pay. And it's very hard to really decide what you will need to pay when you never build anything meaningful in your life yet. So how are you supposed to know what you will need to pay? What you will need to pay when you have no idea what potential could be priced. So when you're pursuing for the first time, you will never know how much it will cost. You just couldn't imagine. So when you start taking action, a lot of times that's why people quit, because they never thought that this is the amount they will need to pay to achieve their success. And people who really say that it doesn't matter what the cost is, I will pay it. They said that you can put the receipt, you can put that receipt with a blank, because I will put whatever amount is need to be paid. That's people who succeed, who do not pay, like, I will pay $1,000, $2,000, and then if it's above that, I'm out. Don't say that, oh, I will pay 10 hours, $100, $1,000. No, I will pay with all hours that I need to make sure that I succeed in this endeavor. People who do not look in the price tags regarding success, they get the money to live the life that they want. That's very important. Charlie Munger, and this is the last one. Charlie Munger put it well. The first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily. And this is regarding success. People say, okay, I'm willing to pay the price. And they take action. And then they see, okay, like the price is pretty big, pretty huge, and they quit. And they realize, no, but I need to pay that price. And then they realize, okay, I have to readjust the price now. Okay, I'm willing to pay that price. And then the price again is bigger than they thought again, and they quit again. And that interrupting that momentum, interrupting that moving forward, interrupting to take actions, interrupting those investments is stopping you to really achieve that wealth and success that you actually want. Interruption is one of the worst things to do. Sometimes, I always say that, it's easier to move from 0, it's easier to move from 1 to 20 than from 0 to 1. From 0 to 1 is very, very difficult. It's very, very hard to move from 0 to 1. But from 1 to 20 is very, very, very easy. So that way, interruption is destroying a lot of things. So when you think about success regarding investment, with finances, and life, we need to make sure that we never interrupt our growth. I know that life is unpredictable. Life is full of surprises. It might happen, and if it happened. You just keep moving forward. So I hope you will, again, take that book, because really it was a much better book than I expected. And I highly recommend you take a book by yourself, read it, and really make a comment as well on what you took out of this book. Because from all the books I read more than 100 books for sure, like maybe a couple hundred. This book probably I would put in a top books to read, because really there's a lot of thoughts. If I knew that there's so many great things, for some reason at the beginning I didn't want to read this book. I thought it's just overrated. But after reading it, I could tell you that there is a lot of great things. And I left a lot of things out of my notes because there's too many things. And he shared the story about American, how he moved from 15, how everything changed. So highly recommend to read it. And that's it for today. And I hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.